Okay.
Under Camp Sunset.
Be sovereign over your mind. Man jeeta jag jeet. What does Raj Karega Khalsa mean? Argue for one interpretation of sovereignty, both or neither, and provide historical references and/or Gurbani examples. Your maximum time is 4 minutes. Our first speaker will be Amandeep Singh from Virginia. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Sovereignty, supreme power या फिर authority भी हो सकती है, political या फिर spiritual भी हो सकती है। जब sovereignty political है तब supreme authority governmental है, जब spiritual है तब power का demand which है काम जो कितने साल तो से spiritual power के political power वास्ते लड़ रहे हैं। 1947 तो बाद से political power वास्ते लड़ रहे हैं, वो कितने साल तो spiritual power वास्ते लड़ रहे हैं। I think sovereignty should be spiritual because if you get control of your mind, you can get control of the world. सारे बुजुर्गों ने क्या है कि अगर तुसी
So Guru Ji is telling the Sikhs that if they are true Sikhs of the Guru, they shall rise in the early morning hours and meditate on the Lord's name. Within their practical lives, Sikhs are to dedicate a portion of their time to practicing their spiritual power. During the times of battle, Sikhs did not forget some part of their lives. As they prepare for war, they continue to remember Vaheguru. In fact, there are some historic references which state that the Sikhs used these midnight waters as a way to keep time. Nam was a part of their survival team. Without Nam and spiritual sovereignty, Sikhs would not be able to stay in high spirits with which political sovereignty should be achieved. A prime example of this is the building structure of Sri Harmandir Sahib and the Kaaba. Built under the instruction of Guru Arjan Dev Ji, Sri Harmandir Sahib is an ultimate symbol of spiritual sovereignty. In the same complex stands the Kaaba building, built under the leadership of Guru Arjan. It is a symbol of the supreme political power of the Sikhs. This building plan was meant to symbolize that the spiritual and political power of the Sikhs exist together. They are two parts of the same whole. When there is an existence of both spiritual sovereignty and political sovereignty, there will be Raj Karega Khalsa. The pure body of the Sikhs will achieve victory.
At this time to have it, because if you think about it, all the gurdwaras, they're like small countries, and people can't even run the gurdwaras properly without talking like getting jealous about somebody has more power, somebody has less power, asking for money all the time. And then the second is like most of the youth and adults in Punjab are like addicted to drugs and drinking. So if you make your own country, they'll all come there and they'll start their own activities there and spread it throughout the whole country. And then that's basically what I researched. And then when I came to camp, there were like 2 stories that happened all last night. Okay, so like I'm just gonna take a moment and summarize what happened. So during the Dawan, Vaisa was doing really nice kirtan and everybody was enjoying it and everybody was like, why you with him, right? And Bala, he was sitting right here, and when I looked at him, I saw he was with white. He was like, hey, he had his eyes closed, he had his like this, and he was doing why you, and he was singing the show like he knew it by heart. And I felt like Govind Singh was sitting there, and he was telling him, yo, man, good job. And he was like moving around, he was so interactive with the thing. And I was telling other people, yo, let's turn up and let's do the why you too. And you guys were like just sitting there and staring at me and saying, yeah. And that's pretty much why like you gotta get confident and do the YU too, and then you can be with YU, and then you'll have a state one day. And then the second, after the vigil last night, we all went to our cabins because it was time to sleep because we gotta wake up this morning. And so like 45 minutes, 1 hour later, counselors, a few of them sitting here, they walked in a group, like 6 of them. They were walking around. My friend Taj over there, he was sleeping, he was passed out. Out of nowhere, all the counselors were walking around Sukha's bed, and he got up and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" He thought they were intruders. He wasn't sleeping though. He was sleepwalking, and he was like, "Hey, what you doing? Why are you robbing us? What are you doing here? I'm protector of the Khalsa. I protect Sikhi." And like, I felt something was weird about that because he was like walking in his sleep. And I thought, after the vigil, maybe YU was there in our cabin sleeping there, and he was like protecting us in case they were counselors, but they could have been intruders. Route behind him, he does more YU, and it's really good. So that's basically my speech. I didn't really want to win today, so you can give my trophy to somebody else. And I just wanted to get my message out, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Hey, right on time. Why did you guys also?
Next speaker is John Ford. Hardeep Kaur Maryland, as a presenter. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Laskar Kartasban, Ban Jio Jio Sagli Ki, Chitna Ayo Barbram, Dahar Rasapati. In this line, Guru Amar Das Ji says that you can have all the weapons, all the armies in the world, but it's nothing compared to the spiritual power one must attain to not go through this cycle of life over and over, which is our ultimate goal. If a political state was one of their goals at the time, the Gurus would have achieved it themselves. During the time of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, we had a Sikh Raj. After that, the Sikh sovereignty remained in the hearts of the Sikhs spiritually. Sovereignty simply means supreme power. Maharaja Ranjit Singh was the last Sikh to give up the rule. Similarly, British Sikhs protested the injustice and did not confine to one government. The Khalsa is a self-governing state that is not necessarily a place. When 5 Amritdhari Singhs come together, they become a Khalsa. Our Guruji didn't confine to the ruling of injustice with the Mughals, and neither did Vrindavan. This still continues today in the voices of Jaswant Singh Khalsa, Balwant Singh Rajwana, and Bullet. One of the many powerful lines in Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Banis include Manjita Jimpi, which translates to, by conquering your mind, you can conquer the world. Personally, this line gives me a lot to think about. If one attains control of the world,
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sikhs have sought for sovereignty for ages. What is sovereignty? In this case, sovereignty is the supreme power or authority. What does that mean to a Sikh? It can mean many things. Here, we're going to focus on the 2 main points, politically and spiritually. For us, sovereignty must be the Guru. Other Sikhs might hold a different opinion on this topic, but truly learning and understanding our Guru's teachings when we have truly found sovereignty. Martyrdom, preaching, fighting against injustice, all tied to achieving sovereignty. The question is, how do we see it? Sovereignty can be seen in 2 ways here, politically and spiritually. Just like unity and greedy, we should see them as both. Sikhs do not wish to fight against injustice and do not only wish to fight against injustice and stand up for our rights, we also need to be attached to like. In my opinion, being sovereignly, politically, and spiritually deems us as a martyr. It's unsurprising. Another question to bring up regarding sovereignty is, what does Rajagara Khalsa mean? Technically, it's just a slogan that represents sovereignty. If you break down the sentence and take the time to understand it, it's showing us both interpretations of sovereignty. The political side is shown on the part of Raj. The spiritual side is shown where it says constantly. Thus, we can tell that we should stand up and choose the both. As I said before, many have different opinion on sovereignty. Some support only the political side, and some support only the spiritual side. This is common human nature, but we can work together to not do this. To truly support both sides, we must understand ourselves first. To do that, we need to surrender ourselves to the guru and only believe in his name. Once we do that, we'll see the world different. I support both sides of sovereignty, even though I'm not spiritually and mentally woke. There are many great examples of sovereignty. One great example is Operation Blue Star in 1984. This would be classified as political. We were attacked, and we just retaliated. Another one that not many people talk about would be 9/11. Even though we had no part in it, we were targeted as we were known as Muslims, which we need to create an identity for ourselves. The spiritual part can be found in Gurbani or in the Guru Granth. Manji Tijak Jina, Raj Gariya Khalsa, and Abdullah Gurbani represent the spiritual side of sovereignty. Our goal is to achieve sovereignty, but this is not.
Only flourish long-term in its sovereign state if they have political sovereignty. A minority religion can be and frequently is suppressed by the majority, even in the most democratic of countries in the world. The United States supports Christianity at the expense of other religions, just as India promotes Hinduism at the cost of Sikhism and other religions. The Sikhs need a sovereign nation to allow Sikhism to thrive worldwide. Sikhism has been undermined by the Muslims, British, and Hindus since the very birth of the religion in 1469. Our Gurus sacrificed their lives due to lack of Sikhs' political sovereignty. Countless Sikhs were martyred by the Mughals because Sikhs did not have a sovereign nation. 7,000 Sikhs, including women and children, were killed, and 3,000 Sikhs were captured in the Chorna just because they were Sikhs who did not have sovereignty. About 30,000 Sikhs, one-third to one-half of all the Sikhs at the time, were killed in the Vadda Kalugada by Ahmad Shah Abadi in 1762. Mughals offered a bounty for 6 heads. Sikhs were persecuted and brutally murdered by the Mughals since the time of the Gurus due to the lack of political sovereignty. Sikhism flourished in Punjab when Sikhs had political sovereignty under the kingdom of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Once Sikhs lost that political sovereignty after the fall of Maharaja Ranjit Singh and his kin, the British used the Sikhs to control the rest of India and to fight their wars all over the world. Kharak Singh was chosen as the king of Punjab just because he was the son of the Maharaja, when there were more experienced commanders who could have saved the Sikh Raj. Though Maharaja Ranjit Singh was a great leader, he did not have true spiritual sovereignty. He appointed his son Kharak Singh as the next Maharaja of Punjab due to his law and attachment. If Maharaja Ranjit Singh and his kin had true spiritual sovereignty and control over vices like greed and attachment, they would not succumb to nepotism, and they would have appointed truly great leaders, military commanders, and Punjab to lead Punjab, who could give a fitting blow to the British. Lack of spiritual sovereignty by the Sikhs led to the loss of political sovereignty and countless Sikhs' lives in Punjab and all over the world. Thus, the spiritual sovereignty of the few would have saved the political sovereignty of all the Sikhs. Ai Panthi Sagal Jamati Manji Dejuti. The highest religion is to rise to universal brotherhood, to consider all creatures as equals. Conquer your mind for victory over self and victory over the world. Just as political sovereignty depends on spiritual sovereignty alone cannot survive long term. Historically, many saints, presumably spiritually sovereign people, have been killed by others who have political sovereignty. Spiritual sovereignty and political sovereignty. May your green card.
The literal meaning of the word sovereignty is supreme power or authority. I believe that the more uncommon definition of this word is being spiritually empowered. Being empowered means that you have power over yourself and what you do.
It could not help as Muslims got there to Pakistan and Sikhs got wars there that times have changed. The Sikhs have tried to get power in Delhi over and over again. This was also the plan of our last Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, as he spoke on the Rashtriya Khalsa, meaning the pure rule. He spoke into the Shabad of Rashtriya Khalsa, Aapki Reign Hoye, God was Sumenge, Revolution, Guru. He said the Sikhs shall remain free and sovereign, always learn challenging this position. All everyone must eventually accept this position. However, in my opinion, I think that some people think that Rashtrakuta Council means that people should rule the world, and that is sometimes misunderstood. It truly means that the true people who mean no harm to others and have pure hearts that rule and have power to use for the better of not just themselves but others. I also think that the Sikhs have gone through quite some things to get to the position of protecting the vote. I would leave the council.
The next speaker is from Ecuador, Maryland.
Yes, you don't have to ask me to go.
Warrior Jika Khalsa, Warrior Jiki Fateh. Throughout our history, Sikhs have continuously faced oppression. From the Mughal reign during the times of the Gurus to the Indian government in 1984, Sikhs have constantly been entangled in a power struggle. For Sikhs, the idea of sovereignty and the establishment of a Sikh Raj finally guarantees freedom from hundreds of years of unjust treatment. For a true Guru Sikh, however, sovereignty is constrained to its traditional meaning of a self-governing rule. To achieve such freedom, after years of seeking it, comes with much more than political power or authority. When Guru Hargobind Ji received the Guruship in the early 1600s, contrary to previous tradition, he asked to receive two kirbans, one to symbolize Vidi, the concept of temporal authority, and one to symbolize Vidi, the concept of spiritual authority. The Guru highlighted that a Sikh should be well-rounded, embracing and striving to achieve both worldly and spiritual power. Later, Guru Hargobind Ji went to report to Baba with it. It is through thine intercession I obtained at birth, and it is in fulfillment of thy blessing I wear to
Sahib Singh, Virginia. Sanpreet Singh, Virginia.
Guru Hargobind Singh Ji gave us Miri and Miri. Miri being worldly affairs and Miri being spiritual affairs. Or religious beliefs. He gave us these two contradicting ways of life so that a community of spiritual seekers are sovereign in their relationship with the divine Lord, but yet they are still self-governed through challenges faced in this worldly family. In the beginning, as I explained about Miri, worldly attachments, holiness, and dominance, I explained how that sovereignty is about between both, and as well, sovereignty might as well be the definition of six, because our balance between holiness and dominance is Miri. We go through that. We've been given passed down through our rulers. And as Sikhs, our holiness is in our Gurbani, as well as our dominance, which is our Sikh Raj. Sikhs strive for sovereignty in the past, but sometimes they worked, other times they didn't. Because of this, it's because the way they worked, the way they sought for sovereignty is because either they went too spiritual or they had too much dominance. राज मिलेगा खासा आखिर ना कोई ख्वार कोई सब मिलेंगे बच्चे शरण जो The shall means the pure shall rule and the impure will be no more. Those separated will be united and all the glories of the Guru shall be saved. And in other words, Khasa will be. Vai Vajika Khasa, Vai Vajika.
Next speaker is Sevenborn, Texas.
Even at the risk of their lives. Along with others, thousands of Sikh soldiers, also known as the Khalsa, sacrificed their lives fighting the tyranny and finally liberating France and restoring the freedom of the French people. The cemeteries in Gurukul, Dimension, Flanders, Field, and others are witness to supreme sacrifices made by the Sikh soldiers for saving humanity and upholding the correct principle in the name of God and their Gurus. Sikh sovereignty is a source of Sikh pride. I believe that Sikh sovereignty means both something political and something spiritual. Sovereignty is basically a form of freedom. Politically, if one is not given freedom and is discriminated against, the feeling of worthlessness arises. If one feels worthless in a democracy such as ours, that means that we are not honoring the foundation that America's founding fathers laid down for us. This creates an unequal society. Hence, the political definition of sovereignty is vital and crucial to us as sick individuals. As Guru Nanak Dev Ji said in a single line in the 28th audio Granth Sahib, "Mind Jita Jakti, by conquering your mind, you conquer the world. The mind is given to you to serve you, not to control you." Spirituality pertains to the mind. Hence, spirituality must serve you. For our spirit to serve us, it must be free. We depend on our spirit to be sovereign in order to let us believe what we want. The phrase Raj Karega Khalsa means that in time, religious, God-fearing, sacred-hearted people will rule their enemies and will not exist on earth any longer. Guru Gobind Singh Ji indicated this in a glorious way. This is why we say Raj Karega Khalsa. Raj Karega Khalsa. Next speaker is Ashley Farr, Maryland.
गुरु प्यारे साथ संगत जी, सारे कश के बुलाओ, वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। जटा पसम लेपन किया, कहाँ गुफा में वास, मन जीते जग जीत्या, जाते बिख्या ते होए विलास। Sovereignty. If we Google the definition of sovereignty, it gives the definition as supreme power or authority, or a country's independent authority and the right to govern itself. What is sovereignty to us? Statistics show that more than 80% of the sacrifices in the freedom struggle of India against the British were made by Sikhs, who comprised only 1.5% of the population of India. The Hindu leaders who won independence due to the sacrifices made by Sikhs failed to fulfill the promises they had made to Sikhs for independence. The Sikhs had to undergo torture, and their holiest shrines were attacked by the Indian government under Operation Blue Star, Operation Woodrose, various fake encounters, and government-sponsored riots. In spite of all the sacrifices made by Sikhs, they have yet to see the glow of freedom. They belong to the state that produces the largest amount of electricity and are themselves deprived of that same electricity. The once sovereign Punjab is today a victim of drugs, alcohol, and farmer suicides. All our leaders like Baba Banda Singh Bahadur, Jassa Singh Ahluwalia, Nawab Kapoor Singh, Baba Deep Singh, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Bhindranwale fought against injustice, and when the need arose, established a sovereign territory where all the subjects, Sikhs and non-Sikhs, enjoyed secular freedom. That is the type of sovereignty we seek. In conclusion, Sikhs are state soldiers following the path of meaning. We seek sovereignty of our mind first, conquering the 5 vices, shedding our ego, and adopting Gurmat over Manmat. We then seek a sovereign state where there are no human rights violations and everyone has religious freedom irrespective of their religion, caste, gender, or ethnicity. It will be only then we can gracefully and proudly recite, Raj Karega Khalsa, Aaki Rehna Koe, Khwar Hue Se Milenge, Bache Sharan Jo Hoye. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
बोले सो निहाल।
Siddharth Singh, New Jersey.
Waਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Sovereignty. What is sovereignty and why? Also, another example of political sovereignty is Maharaja Ranjit Singh Ji establishing the Nanak Sikh so he could get the Sikhs recognized and establish an equal power. Another example of this is the younger Sahib Sadas who got big flag and didn't give up their faith and showed sovereignty by not bowing in the Mughal courts. This shows that Sikhs will always fight for their sovereignty. Wajib Khalsa.
The next speaker is Emily Cortez.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. As Guru Gobind Singh Ji said himself, Raj bina nahi dharam chale hai, dharam bina sab dale mane hai. Which means that sovereignty is a must in order for a religion to survive. Otherwise, religion perishes and we is spiritual power. In Japji Sahib, which contains the line, Man Jeete Japji, it is said that to unite with your God, you must do Simran. These lines contain perfect instructions for how to live your life. When we read and recite these words, it is exhilarating to realize that by simply mastering one line of instruction, for example, being centered in the center of all your being, all of our problems and frustrations will fall away. Sikhi was made to include freedom and liberation. It was made to supply humankind's essential necessity to demolish the various forms of injustice, tyranny, and sectarianism that stand in the way of our connection to Vaheguru. Badshah Sasab Vaskardine Amrit Naam Maharaspine. The people are sovereign, not under the rule of any shahs or emperors. They drink the most divine tasting ambrosial nectar. The late great Sikh scholar GHISS Singh said, the Sikh view does not permit any dichotomy of life or any divorce of the individual from his society, nor does it visualize that the true religion and ethics can operate unconcerned besides an unjust social or political order. Not that spiritual freedom can coexist with religion or with religious dictation or political slavery in any way. Guru Gobind Singh Ji has said, Dana Dev Kanen Sacha Rup Kavek Paran Japenge, Jeev Jite Janme Thalme Parvi Parme Sabthap Kapenge. Meaning that in time, evils will be banished. Since the inception of our religion, us Sikhs have been fighting for sovereignty and independence. Khalsa means pure, and hence Raj Karega Khalsa means that in time, pure-hearted people will rule. Every day, Sikhs fight for power and equality in the U.S. We stand up for ourselves, and we make a name for ourselves. This, in itself, is a prime example of Sikh sovereignty. So, ऐसा हर क्या जिन्हें कासरब से पावे मेरे मना जबन सब नाम सदा सपना. So meditate on
Now, your mind will create peace. In terms of sovereignty, our mind can only conquer our senses through reminding. Through reminding, we will be at peace once each thing has this source of peace. There won't be any political issues, arguments, or violence. Once we are at this stage, we can bring this type of peace to the world and create worldwide spiritual sovereignty. What does Rajguru Khalsa mean? It means that the Khalsa will give freedom without rebellion. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, we will put all negativity aside and do the best we can. And whatever Guruji blessed us with, we have to stick together and work for it. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji.
Our next speaker is Temperature for New Jersey.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I believe that for Sikhs, sovereignty means submission and supreme authority of God in a spiritual way. Rajguru Ka Khalsa, Akhir and Rakhoi, God hoye sab रहेंगे,
stand here and deliver a speech, that's powerful. And we need that. This is our new front that we need to fight our fight. No longer, or even in any fight, shouldn't start with weapons first. It should start with ideas. So we should win this with ideas. Well and good. If not, yeah, we are ready for it. Second is the throughout state history, anytime you look at it. Again, I said there is no right or wrong answer. You need to support your answer here. So, but I have my thoughts also, and I want to share that with you. Throughout state history, no battle, physical battle, ever fought for land or control of it. It always starts with freedom of ideas, freedom of religion, and to achieve that. If that's how it comes, then that's what we will ask for. That's what we will get. Even Nelson Mandela, their speeches, many times they say, "I'm not asking for Palestine, but if that's how I will get what I need to get, so be it." So those are a couple of thoughts that I want to share. But more importantly, I want to share public speaking is very important for you guys. Please take these opportunities, materialize these opportunities. Don't be scared of coming out here. When you are sincere, all you will get is